News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Well, we asked the question when it happened, and boy, did we talk a lot about this the other night when we found out that the appeals court, the 15th Texas Appeals Court of Appeals, said no to the state attorney general, Ken Paxton, going after the gun ban at the State Fair of Texas, which really has become the State Fair of California. They have California at our state fair, and people like you and me are not welcome. They look at us as a threat. You and I are the danger. And you know what I thought about today? As this continues to culminate, so the big news today is that AG Ken Paxton has now taken it to the Texas Supreme Court. So you are going to see arguments in front of our Texas Supreme Court shortly in Austin. The State Fair of Texas starts tomorrow. And James, our brother James Parker from the James Show, is going to be there. And I hope he's able to dodge bullets. I hope he's wearing a Kevlar vest of some sort. But nonetheless, there he will be doing his show live. I've done my show live there from many times before. Always enjoyed it. But this year, they don't let people like you and me carry weapons. We're the threat. And it all happened because a thug last year, illegally in possession of a firearm on the fairgrounds, pulled out a gun because he didn't like what somebody said or did to him and shot it up. Thankfully, nobody was killed. But do you understand that it was a thug illegally with a gun on the State Fair of Texas grounds? And what did they do? They go, oh, let's kick people like Chris Crock out of here. People like him and you guys that have concealed carry permits, statistically, in the state of Texas, they studied this around 20 years after the concealed carry bill was passed by George W. Bush, the then governor of Texas, and it showed that if you have a concealed carry license, you are 12 times less likely to commit a crime. And so they look at us as a threat because they've California'd our state fair. This is how the state of California thinks. This is not how the state of Texas thinks. So this is truly an insult. This is an importation, a wholesale importation of some other state's state fair. This is not Texas. This is not Texan. I don't. Does Big Tex have a gun on him? I don't think he does. Does he? Does he have a gat on his waist? No. If he did, they'd take that away too, wouldn't they? Oh, lawful carry. That's dangerous. Oh no, we can't allow people like that Chris Crock on the grounds. You are the real threat, all you people in Plano and in Waxahachie. With your firearms permits, we don't trust you. Hey, let me ask you this. Listen to this. I was talking about this. There's no way they're going to be able to stop thugs from bringing in guns. You know that and I know that, especially with this. Guess what I saw today? Because we were talking about this and I was like, how big is the State Fair of Texas? As far as the landmass and the amount of fencing going around it, that somehow they're going to magically have a shield keeping thugs out with guns, and somehow they're going to stop a thug when we're the ones who obey the law and not them. This makes me angry. This is insulting to us. And this is not the State Fair of Texas to me. But to close this off, the State Fair is 227 acres. Fair Park is 227 acres. Do you think these people are going to be able to keep a thug from a gun on there on 227 acres? What do they have, the Iron Dome? The Israeli Iron Dome, are they importing one here? Stop, thug. You have a gun. Oh no. I'm the threat. You're the threat. And by the way, Fair Park and that area of Dallas is literally, last time I checked, the highest homicide rate in all of Dallas. It is the highest crime rate, last time I heard, in all of DFW. And now you have to leave your gun in the car where the thugs are going to steal your gun in the car. Now you have to run. The best ride in all of the fair, the best attraction, the spookiest, the scariest attraction is trying to get to the state fair from your car without getting shot and getting jacked, and trying to get back when it gets dark from the state fair to your car without getting jacked. Good luck. Now, if you're one of the rich folk, or you want to shell out $25 or $30 or whatever it is, Bidenomics, it's working. You can pay money with the rich folk and go get that on the ground safer parking, I guess, right? Whoa! Then you might not get shot. But if you do, take heed, you won't have your gun on you because you can't. Ah! All right, here's some questions for you. So this goes in front of the state Texas Supreme Court in a minute. Do you support AG Ken Paxton taking the state fair of Texas to the Texas Supreme Court? Do you support that right now? That's his next and last appeal for this state. Do you support AG Ken Paxton taking the state fair of Texas to the Texas Supreme Court to try to force them to reinstitute allowing concealed carry? And are you going to the fair because of this, or are you less likely to go? Do you think the state fair will be safer because of this? Sorry, I have a little cough. And are we the threat? People like me and you, maybe, that carry concealed carry? Or are the thugs the threat? I'm confused. Are you confused? And will this stop them from bringing in a gun, the thugs? And lastly, guess what they're doing? Well, we've hired security guards. Do you support AG Ken Paxton taking the state fair of Texas to the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court, to try to force them to reinstitute concealed carry being allowed since it's on city grounds? And are you going to the state fair because of this, or are you less likely to go? I'm not going to go. This makes me feel unsafe. We have tens of thousands of trained Nicaragua people, according to the former head of border operations, counterintelligence, counterterrorism for Texas DPS. He was on my show. He's on my show regularly. Jason Jones, who's now the Newsmax border correspondent. And he said, tens of thousands of trained Nicaragua being here from the violent, worst violent gang in this side of the Western Hemisphere that I'm aware of is here by the tens of thousands. And also, we know a lot of terrorists. We know that the terrorist percentage shot up by, I think it was 3,000% in just the San Diego sector alone, where they were trying to get in illegally. They're going illegally from everywhere, but in between the points of entry, just in San Diego sector. It was like 382 terrorists in the first 3 years or so of Biden-Kamala versus 11 with Trump. How many terrorists do you think are here already and ready to go? How many of them, like the terrorist that showed up from Britain and went to South Dallas, probably not too far from Fair Park, bought himself an illegal handgun, and they went and tried to kill? And remember, he held all those Jewish people at the congregation there in Colleyville, I think it was. And it was the FBI came in and said, "There's nothing to do with Islamists here." The guy was an Islamist. He was demanding Lady Al-Qaeda get freed, and said the Jews controlled everything. But no, he's not an Islamist. That's your disgraced former head of the FBI operations office, Matt DeSarno. That guy is a royal, perfect Democrat operative pretending to be a law enforcement person. What a turd. I'm glad he got flushed down the toilet. I'm telling you how I really feel. Nonetheless, I don't trust this situation to be safe. There's no way they have cops all over the grounds on a 277-acre fair park. What do you have, departments from all over the country here? No. We can't even hire enough cops. The whole country's in a crisis mode, and Dallas is absolutely understaffed by 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000. I don't know, between 1,000 and 2,000 people. They are understaffed for the police force. Yeah, we got so many cops. We got too many of them. Gosh, I can't even. We're flooded everywhere I look. There's a cop everywhere. All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, how many people went to the fair last year, and was the judge that initially ruled against this Dallas judge a Democrat? Oh, I will tell you that. We'll talk to David and Carrollton right out of the box coming up next as well. 4 lines open, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. My friend James Parker appearing tomorrow. Oh, by the way, before I forget, this is important. I want you to go to WBAP.com right now, WBAP.com, and you can see the the hurricane is difficult as it's going to be, and scary and all sorts of stuff. Hurricane Helene, live radar. It shows a storm, and there it goes right up to Tallahassee, man. Lot of serious stuff. So we'll keep watching that, and you can watch the live Hurricane Helene radar by going to WBAP.com, and I'm looking at that monster as it clearly has made landfall. Not that, oh, wait, no, it hasn't. I'm sorry. Well, it has, but like the eye is, I'm not a meteorologist, and I won't pretend to be one, so that's my foray into meteorology. Don't ever listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Other than that, then I remember I used to work with a guy on radio way back when it would rain, he'd go, hit the ditch now. This is not a drill. Like, it was insane. Some of these things you never forget the colleagues you work with over the years, the dumb ones and the smart ones. Okay, 800-288-WBAP is our number. Ken Paxton now takes the State Fair of Texas to the Texas Supreme Court, and drama is fun. This is great. The more we can stop this and the more we can put a spotlight on this, this is a stain on the State Fair of Texas. This is a serious stain to me and a mark that is an embarrassment, and it's as un-Texan and un-American as it can get. This is not the State Fair of Texas in my vernacular. This is the State Fair of California. They have California at our State Fair to a level that really makes me angry, all because one thug showed up last year and shot up the food court because he was mad at something. And let me tell you this. Have you ever heard of one incident of people like you and me that were allowed to carry concealed carry last year and for that forever before, as far as we're aware? Have you ever heard of one incident of a concealed carry person at the State Farm doing something wrong? I've never heard of one. Have you? So why in God's name do they come after us? Shame on you. Shame on you. Ready, fire, aim. You are just like the liberal Kamala Harris and what's his name, Gavin Newsom. You literally say, oh, a thug shoots up the food court? Let's ban people with lawful guns. Shame on you. Shame on you. You embarrass me. You anger me. You do. I feel like I'm talking to my kid. David in Carrollton, you've called in at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
We will not be going to the State Fair of Texas because we are a prime target. October 7th is coming up. We've allowed terrorists, illegal gangs across our southern border. It's too big of a venue. It's not worth the risk.
You know, when you said October 7th, my gosh, look at you. I never thought of that. Look, it starts tomorrow, and it goes for 27 days. And, dude, 1 week and a half, 1 week and 4 days is the 7th of October. Dang, you were thinking deep.
Yep.
I mean, you guys, some of you guys think way deper than I do. I was supposed to be the one thinking deep.
In Afghanistan.
What's that, brother?
I spent 2 years in Afghanistan training journalists.
Wow. Were you with the military, it sounds like?
I was a contractor.
Okay. That's amazing. And what did you learn from your 2 years in Afghanistan?
Keep your head on a swivel. Everything's okay until it's not.
Man, you know, I'm gonna tell you something. I have a very, very close person in my life that is a police officer, a veteran now, 9-10 years, and was in a major city, and then went to, so they didn't want to go to jail for doing their job. It was in a very liberal, bad city, so they went to the suburb now where they're safer. They literally went to somewhere that's half Republican, half Democrat, and doesn't hate the cops, and it's a world of difference. But that person is also military, current, and they said that to me because they care about me, you know, head on a swivel. And that's what I teach my kids when you're going to and from my daughter with her work sometimes leads later. There's a lot of bums that are out there panhandling in the area. And I'm like, you always walk with somebody, head on a swivel. She's been taught well to the point where she gets annoyed when I try to talk to her about stuff now. She's 18, and then my son too. And they listen. She gets in her car, and before I even see it, I hear the doors click. She locks the door. She has been trained well. And that's what you got to do. And so you agree with me, as somebody who's been in a war, theater of war, that you are not safe at the State Fair of Texas. And do you agree that it's the State Fair of California now?
Yes. We can't have this. Texans can protect themselves if given the opportunity. But you take that away, it's too big of a venue, it's too porous. Not only no, but hell no.
Doesn't this anger you? It angers me.
Yes.
That they steal our freaking name and take away our guns.
Yes.
They steal the name of this state and take away our guns. And what even angers me more is watching them all with the same cowboy hat when they get up there with this press conference. You guys don't wear those cowboy hats day in and day out. You wear them like it should look like you're a Texan. You're a Californian.
Yep.
My understanding is that company's based out of Colorado that manages it. That's my understanding. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding. And that would make sense, wouldn't it? Although, hold on. You want to hear something that's unbelievable? I got to roll, but listen to this real fast. I have concealed carry, and I have we have reciprocity, so I can carry lawfully going into to New Mexico and Colorado, Democrat states, but I can travel and carry there. And this crap is pulled here. I got to roll, but thank you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, Kamala. She does another interview with somebody who is absolutely a massive supporter, MSNBC host Stephanie Rule. And guess what you're going to hear? Kamala struggling to have softball questions. It was a disaster. You'll hear yourself. She says the American dream is dead. I'm serious. You'll hear that. And Mark Cuban this morning on CNBC once again struggling to defend her. It's freaking amazing. What a bad set of stuff for if anyone's paying attention. That's next on the Chris Kroc Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3 at 33 minutes after the hour. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Okay, Mark Cuban struggles to defend Kamala this morning on her border policy, on her economic policies, and oh my gosh, she did very poorly. In fact, Dana Perino today on the 5, she's very honest. She's, was George Bush's spokesperson at the White House, and she's a moderate, a Republican, she's kind of moderate to more than moderate, but she tells it like it is. She's really, really good. She's a sweetheart too. She's not mean or negative. But she said it was horrible. And she said this, first of all, the New York Times laughed at her today, her how she did. That's literally how Dana Perino described it. And then also the words on Martha McCallum today, they were sharing what the New York Times said about her interview with Stephanie Rule last night on MSNBC, and they literally ripped it to shreds. They ripped it to shreds. The New York Times. She can't give specifics. She doesn't know how to do policy. She doesn't know what the policy is. She has, as one of the people on the 5 said today, she's just walked, went through the process of just having this job, then this job, going up and up and up, and then look at me, I'm here now. And that's why she can't even do an interview. Now, Stephanie Rule just absolutely royally kissed her buttock just 3 days ago on Real Time with Bill Maher. I'll play you a little bit of it. Well, let me see here.
Are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Hold on here.
Much to ask Kamala, say, are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Okay.
Yes or no?
And let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not.
Kamala
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
This is the woman she had an interview with last night. Trump is a threat to democracy. And then Oprah was the last interview, and Oprah endorsed her publicly and gave the best speech of the DNC. She's not doing interviews with anybody that isn't pimping her and isn't voting for her and isn't her biggest cheerleader. She can't. She's afraid to do them with anybody that would even hold her accountable moderately. She will not do anything with Fox News. She won't do a debate. She won't do an interview, even with Bret Baier, Martha McCallum, who are very fair, very straight down the middle. She won't do anything with anybody who is not going to prop her up. And that's a serious... What's she going to do when she's in a room with Putin or Xi or Xi Jinping? I mean, are you kidding? Or with the Ayatollah, which I don't know if she's ever going to be in a room with, but I mean, you kidding me? This is a disgrace. Here's some of the highlights, though, because don't listen to me. Listen to her. First of all, she said the American dream is dead. She said that. She said the American dream is dead. Behold, this was in her interview yesterday with Stephanie Ruhle, the one you just heard kissing Kamala's rump.
And, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream. So part of my...
Do you understand? Gone is the day. Let me go back again, because you understand she and Joe have been running this country for 4 years?
Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream. So
you canceled the American dream. You did that. Can you believe she said that? The American dream is gone. That's under her. She lost the American dream for us. She got rid of it. Wall Street Journal editorial board today saying that literally her new tax policies, where she got her tax policy she unveiled today, 80 pages, is Bidenomics Part 2. That's the Wall Street Journal editorial board. It's Bidenomics Part 2. We're going to talk to my CPA, my friend and my sponsor, Randy Martin from IRSprob.com about it coming up later at 9:30 or 9:45. But let me play the interview, though. Here we go. Here's more. This is giving the illegals amnesty.
And we need a comprehensive plan that includes what we need to do to fortify not only our border, but deal with the fact that we also need to create pathways for people to earn citizenship.
She brought in up to 20 million illegals. Now they get citizenship. And then here's her about taxes. Oh, gosh, this was a direct question. Stephanie Ruhle is asking a post-interview. She was interviewed on MSNBC after the interview. And she literally said, I'm going to read the quote directly. She said that Kamala did not answer the question. She said Kamala doesn't answer the question. Here's the question that she didn't answer.
Expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share.
She says, she goes, this is probably not going to go through the House or Senate. If it doesn't go through, what are you going to do? It has to go through. What do you mean? I just said it's probably not going to go through. How are you going to handle it? What are you going to do if it doesn't go? Well, it has to go through. She literally had no answer. If the House and Senate don't clear this, and right now the Republicans look to win the House and Senate, as of right now, it's all the projections. So she ain't going to get anything through, and she was asked, what happens when it doesn't go through? It has to go through. There is no other option. You're screwed. It's Bidenomics number 2. She can't come up with the proper answer on the fly. She can't answer that. Here she talks about, she says the word holistically 3 times in 20 seconds.
And assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars. And looking holistically at the connection between that and housing. And looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
Do you have any idea what she's going to do? Do you think she has any idea what she's going to do? Why can't she answer any questions? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you feel Kamala is answering the questions about who she is and what her policies are? Are these interviews helping her or hurting her? And why do you think she's avoiding an interview with somebody who isn't openly supporting her, like Oprah and MSNBC lady Stephanie Ruhle here? Why is she avoiding interviews with somebody who isn't openly supporting her? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you feel she's answering all the questions about who she is and what her policies are? Are these interviews helping her or hurting her? And why do you think she's avoiding an interview with somebody who isn't openly supporting her? 800-288-WBAP. Lines wide open. Chime in right now. We'll pop you on. Hey, I got to tell you something else. Only 1.8 million people watched that interview. Those are horrific numbers. Do you understand at the same time when Fox News, whatever they were airing, probably had 3 million people watching it? Just at normal programming, they have like between 2.5 and 3.5 million people or more. So, I mean, there was like half of a normal Fox, at least half of a normal Fox News typical show. And that was with her on there. And that was one of the things, too, I was listening to a breakdown on Brett Baer's show with the panel. That's like the best part of the show, in my opinion. And they were talking about this as conservatives, liberal, and just straight up news people that are on this panel with Brett Baer analyzing the day's news, and they literally said she's losing the ability to even tell people about herself. They're losing interest in her. And that's shown by the ratings that continue to drop on this. When Trump does one, if the ratings are at least solid, they're not anemic. Those are bad numbers. That's just the choir. And that's her way of saying, look, I'm doing interviews. No, you're not. This woman gave you softball questions that you couldn't even answer, according to her own word. Here I have her saying that. Here we go.
Talk about that answer.
I do, but here's what's a little tricky. She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from, to expand the child tax credit and do all the things she wants to do. And she says, we just have to do it. And that's great, and that's a campaign promise. But the issue is, if it means we're just going to borrow again, then what we're doing is we're just never addressing the deficit. And back in the days when you were a proud Republican, debts and deficits mattered.
Okay, and by the way, this Stephanie Ruhle is a former Economist host, I think, or economy show host or something like that nature, so she knows what she's talking about. She said she doesn't answer the question. And that's the lady who was humping her leg 3 nights ago on Bill Maher and endorsing her. See that? Next, you're going to hear Mark Cuban this morning on CNBC, and you're going to hear him try to defend Kamala's border policy and economic policies and what they've done to cause inflation. And he can't defend it. You'll judge it yourself. I cut it up. My guys cut it up with you. I told them what to cut up, and they did that. But you'll hear it coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. I want to hear from you. Did Mark Cuban, you'll hear this coming up next, but did he defend her well, or is he trying to defend the undefendable, which I'll play for you? And then do you feel Kamala's answering all these questions about who she is and what her policies are? And are these interviews helping her or hurting her? And why do you think she's avoiding a challenging interview from somebody that's not in the tank for her? Bizarre, isn't it? Or does it tell us all we need to know about her? 800-288-WBAP. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Hurricane Helene coming in and literally is now a Cat 4 and is barreling towards, it's literally slated to hit dead center on Tallahassee, the state's capital. Pray for that community and the whole panhandle and the state of Florida tonight, because, look, we know that a dead-on category 1 or 2 can do devastation, right? Just even if it's not from the sustained winds per se, but it's the devastating amount of water that gets dumped on them with the winds and everything. But now you're seeing a Cat 4 on a small-sized city. That is going to be horrific. I pray that it won't be, but that is going to be horrific. So you can watch it live by clicking WBAP.com, and then you'll see Helene right there on the radar, or you can click on it, and then you go to the radar and watch the live hurricane radar if you want. That's just unbelievable. Now a Cat 4, according to Fox News. And look at that. It looks like it's now right off the coast as far as the eye. Terrible. Terrible. Okay, let's continue on. I'm going to play Mark Cuban. Here's Kamala saying last night in her interview with Stephanie Ruhle on MSNBC that the American dream is dead after 4 years of her and Joe.
And home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream. So
American dream's gone. She said home ownership was elusive. Was it elusive on Trump's last day? What was the rate, the mortgage rate? It was the inflation rate was 1.4%, and the mortgage rates were, I think it was 2.8 or 2 point something. The average mortgage when Trump left office on his last day was $1,700 in America, $1,700 a month. It is now $3,300 a month. That man, this woman, and she literally is personally responsible for spending $2.5 or $2.8 trillion of our money for causing this inflation. That's according to Mark Furman, top Obama economist, and his other one. I can't remember the other guy's name. The other one, they were both the top Obama economists that don't do this, don't spend all this money, and she did. They said it's going to be inflation, and then she did. And so she literally broke the tie vote on 3 of them as the president of the Senate, presiding officer of the Senate, was the vice president. So she is literally the one who killed the American dream, and she said it's dead in her own words. Now let's play Mark Cuban this morning on CNBC. Joe Kernan on CNBC. I believe it was Squawk Box. If he's not, I know he's a big guy on that show, on that station. Here is Mark Cuban and Joe Kernan, and he's defending the indefensible here about her policies.
Do you think any of the 40-year highs in inflation are attributable to price gouging? And do you care that is the entire premise on...
No, you're misrepresenting what she's saying, Joe.
I'm watching her ads now.
Okay, so then let's talk.
You've seen the ads.
Yes, of course.
I'm going to bring down...
During a crisis.
Okay. What do you think caused the 40-year? Do you think supermarket gouging had anything to do with?
No.
You think it was putting too much stimulus on top of a supply constraint?
Biden and
it just looks to me like they're not being truthful with us, and they're trying to deflect blame to corporations because of their record.
Now, when he asked him at the very beginning this question,
do you think any of the 40-year highs in inflation are attributable to price gouging? And do you care that
he literally, Cuban was shaking his head, no, and he clearly said no. Her chief thing about price gouging, no, had nothing to do with it. And yes, he said it was Biden, and he tried to say Trump too. But Biden and Kamala, remember, she's responsible for half of it. Biden and Kamala literally spent twice as much as Trump did in 3.5 years. Twice as much. You understand? They doubled what Trump spent. And Trump had a pandemic that hit in the middle of it, and the government was shut down completely. Our country was shut down. That was the bailout, whether you like it or not. Here's another one on open borders. Listen to this.
I still think immigration and illegal immigration is a huge drain on a lot of the jobs that we've added. There's been no net gain among natural born. I'm not saying I don't want immigration. We all love immigration. It's made this. We're all immigrants. We're all descended from immigrants. But I don't think you can have an open southern border.
No, I agree. And she agrees, too. She said the exact same thing.
She had a chance.
Yeah, but, Joe, there's a lot of COOs that when the CEO leaves for whatever reason, come in, take over, and have completely different policies and approaches, right? That's just the way it works. When you're second in command, you do what your boss tells you to do. He delegates authority to you.
But the border was supposed to be her.
Yeah, but it's still the same thing. It's his policies. What he said to her was, you go down and you use diplomacy to try to improve, to try to reduce the flow, the migration of people across the border, right? And when they finally came around, and it took too long, I agree, but when they finally got there, now look at the results. It didn't take a wall, but yet the crossing numbers are where Trump's were when pre-pandemic, at the same number. So it worked. So what she did actually worked.
Trump did not allow 20 million people to invade this country in 3.5 years. Second of all, she said, remember her interview with Lester Holt on NBC? You haven't been to the border. I've been to the border. You haven't been to the border. Well, I haven't been to Europe. Remember that? And then he said, is the border secure? She said, the border is secure. So she lied. She told us Bidenomics is working. I'll play that for you coming up. It's fantastic. But here's my question for you. And the Wall Street Journal said today in their editorial board that her economic policies, the 80 pages she released today, is Bidenomics Part 2. Continuation of the last 4 years that got us here. So my questions for you are, did Mark Cuban defend Kamala well here, or is she trying to defend the undefendable? And do you feel Kamala is answering all the questions about who she is and what her policies are? Are these interviews helping her or hurting her? And why do you think she's avoiding an interview with somebody who isn't openly supporting her? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open for you to chime in. This is amazing. Even the liberal Trump-hating Mediaite said today, their guy said on in an interview on television, one of the news networks, he said, Kamala should show that she can handle tough questions. Go on Fox, go on Newsmax. If that's too tough, come on. Go on News Nation, which is, we'll treat her fairly, but they ask reasonable questions. And Trump has these press conferences where hostile media asks some questions. She has never had a press conference in like 65, 66 days. She's never been asked hostile questions. And that means she can't even handle Putin in her room. He'll own her. He'll spin her on his index finger like a basketball and do laps around her, dribbles around. You know what I mean? It's a joke. She's a joke. That's why I said Kamala is great. We told Joe Biden supports her. I support her. And remember that? And he said she has an infectious laugh. I didn't share this with you. I'll have to do it coming up next. But one of the UK Prime Minister is a far left, super liberal, and he pretended to be moderate, got elected, and has gone full liberal once he got elected. And the woman in charge of his entire campaign and orchestrating this for years is Deborah Mattinson. And Deborah Mattinson was flown in by Kamala and helped them, and still helping them to do the same thing they did with him. They're going to do super liberal stuff. It's very scary, and that's why they hired this woman. She is, I'll share some details on that. All right, coming up next, too, Kamala calling for her and Joe's millions of illegals to become U.S. citizens, making the invasion and replacement of our U.S. voters, of us, with them. That is next. Chris Crock Show at 3 minutes after the hour on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3.